What's up, everybody? The Boxing Source is back, and I have a special guest with me as he is more than 1 week away from the biggest fight of his career. He is fighting for the WBO featherweight title against Rafael Espinoza on Sunday, May 4th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. He hails from El Paso, Texas, and has a record of 17 wins with only 2 losses, 4 wins by way of knockout. Currently ranked at number 10 in the WBO, but he intends to become the new WBO featherweight champion. Here is Edward Kid Vazquez, man. What's happening?
What's going on, brother? Let me make a quick correction. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas.
All right, Fort Worth. All
Fort
right, got
Worth.
Fort Worth. All right, for sure.
Everything's
man.
good though, bro. Everything's good, ready to go. We're about like 10 days out or something like that, and weight's coming down. We just wrapped up our last sparring session today, and everything is primed and ready to go, man. I'm feeling good and focused, and couldn't ask for it to be in a better place right now, man.
Word. We go, talk a little bit about, the thing there as far as like camping and stuff like that. As you've been preparing there before heading out to Vegas, man. Like, how have you been able to prepare for this bout against Rafael Espinoza?
Man, I've had 10 weeks to prepare. So we had 10 weeks is a good enough time to where we're able to spread things out and do things smart and not in a rushed manner. So I've been able to bring the weight down slowly, bring in sparring partners from out of town, fly them in. Just gonna go over the game plan in different steps. Not trying to cover it all at once, but in different steps, and then towards the end of camp, kind of bring it all together and see if it's clicking. And like I said, today was our last sparring session. Everything was clicking, and shit, I'm ready to go, man.
Yeah, that's big right there. What you're saying there, because with Espinoza there in the featherweight division, he's listed at 6'1". So, like you were talking about, bringing in fighters to spar and get those different looks there. Like, how is it to bring in a couple of those fighters that could be more higher than the average height there within that 126-pound division, and so you'll be able to deal with that height and reach.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So yeah, he's 6'1", so you don't find a lot of guys that are in the featherweight division that are 6'1". There are some, and we did bring in some guys like that, but also we've been sparring up. We've been sparring like 147, 154, because you're gonna find more of those kind of guys, that are one, and Mexican style fighters too. We use boxers when we use Mexican style fighters. Being here in Texas, it's easier to find Mexican style fighters, so we had to fly in some tall boxers, and we made it happen, and we got a little bit of everything, and yeah, man, like you said, he's 6'1". I think that is a small plays a small role in the fight. I feel like it's more about IQ than anything.
Word.
IQ and experience, and I think I'm the smarter guy, and I think I have the better experience at a higher caliber. Even though he's a world champion, I feel like I've been in there with tougher opposition, and I have more rounds, and so I think this is a perfect opportunity for me right now to come in as the underdog and pull the upset.
Yeah, we talked about the thing there in reference to your resume and who you've been able to fight, up to this particular point, and how that's a stark difference than what Espinoza has been able to do here so far within his professional career and things like that. Wanted to give a quick shout out there for Ramirez boxing in the building. Says yeah, not too many tall Mexicans, man. I was going to say, man, if you had like a few things or a couple of weeks there that you were going to prepare. I don't know, man. Being in the area where I'm at in the DC area, maybe I would have made a phone call to like Michael Fox or somebody like that. Go over there, help you work or something like that. You feel me?
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is he's tall, man, but he doesn't like to fight tall. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, we still use 6'1", 6 foot guys, but also he likes to fight on the inside. You know what I'm saying? So we really got to find. We were looking for guys that wanted to stay inside the pocket, but we also know that he's not a dumb guy. Obviously, he's a world champion. He's not dumb. He's not there for no reason, and he's got a good coach. He's got a good team behind him. So maybe he knows that I know that he's going to want to stand in the pocket, and maybe he's going to try to adjust a little bit. maybe stay on the outside, try to use his reach this time. So that's why I said we brought in some guys that are also tall and are going to box also, some just to make sure we covered all the bases. So whatever he brings to the table that night, we'll be ready.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be prepared for all of that there for sure.
Yeah, man.
Now, a couple of weeks ago, they had a press conference. I think it was over in Mexico, and Rafael Espinoza said, "quote We know that Vazquez is an opponent who's very prepared. We know that it's going to make for a great fight. He's a warrior who's not going to give up because he wants everything that I have." End quote. There he showed that he has a lot of respect for you ahead of this bout, but he did also mention that he wanted to fight Nayo anyway, of course, as the main event there on that May 4th card. How good would it be for you to derail his plans?
Yeah, man. That's definitely what's happening right here, man. He's coming in, he's sleeping on me, already looking past me, and that's where I've made a name for myself. I made a name for myself on the road and to ruin these plans, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's just kind of what I've been known for. And then this is no different, coming in on the B side as the underdog, and I'm gonna pull the upset off, and I'm gonna show these guys that what a real Mexican style is all about.
Yeah, you talk about being a real warrior. That kind of brings me back to Glenn Cobb Johnson back in the day in the light heavyweight division. There, fought Antonio Tarver and Roy Jones Jr. and stuff like that. Like you said, being a B side, but was able to go in there and get wins against those opponents there back in the day. You feel
Yeah,
me?
man, I love it. I actually prefer to be the underdog and on the B side. It gives me something to get up and get going. And every morning I wake up and I know that these people are counting me out, and I got a bounty on my head, so I got to go get this guy, man. So I got to seize the opportunity and make the most of it. And like I said, I love being the underdog. It doesn't give me any room to get comfortable. It gives me something to strive for, and I couldn't ask for. Like I said earlier, I couldn't ask to be in a better place right now, man.
Yeah, exactly. Now, in our last conversation, we talked about how your last opponent didn't give you much resistance there, and usually when that happens, it does like one or two things. Like either has the winner want to get right back in the gym, or have them looking for another fight. Now, recall that moment there after the end of that fight again, and then fast forward to getting the call to fight Rafael Espinoza for the WBO featherweight title.
Yeah, man. It's that well, my team, Lou DiBella and DKO Boxing, my management team, they always make sure to keep me looking forward, and we always stay in contact, and they always they let me know what's in the works or what I could look forward to. So even though I wasn't very happy with the fight with Kenneth Taylor, because it was just kind of a waste of camp. You know what I'm saying? It was an easy ass fight, and he didn't put up very much resistance.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of felt that, and immediately they let me know, like, hey, no worries, like something big is coming. Like this was necessary because something big is coming on down the line. And just a few months later, we got that call. We had a few different fights that we were working on. We were gonna fight Rocky Hernandez like at the end of February, and then we were gonna fight Ray Ford, and then this fight came along. So it was like my team was definitely working. They were working behind the scenes. My management team, they do a damn good job of being behind the scenes, and just always making phone calls, making connections. And so they definitely kept me motivated. They kept me in the gym. They kept like it. They gave me something to get up for every single day. And so when that Rafael Espinoza fight, that call came in, I was already primed and ready to go, man. Pretty much after the Kenneth Taylor fight, I think I took like maybe, I don't even think I took any days off, but like I started picking up back on like hard training, like pretty much in December again. So um, when we got this call for Espinoza, I was already primed and ready to go, man. I just clicked over, and we had about 10, maybe a little bit longer than 10 weeks of hard, rigorous training, and so at this point, I'm just ready to go, man. I'm pent up and ready to go.
Yeah, I feel you. As far as like your preparation, sometimes with camps, some camps it's like around that 8 to 10 weeks. But by the time you get to those last couple of weeks, and everything has pretty much been done. The thing with reference to the weight and getting the work in and the sparring. It's like, man, I'm ready to fight right now. I don't even
Exactly.
want to go through the whole fight week stuff. I don't need none of these press conferences. Just get me on the scale. Make sure I make weight, and yeah, let's get to the fight. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Exactly, man. I can't wait, bro. I can't wait to, like I said, I'm pent up. I got a lot of pent up energy, or not really pent up energy, more like just like a lot of pent up thoughts. I visualize this shit all day, every day, and I'm just ready to, pretty much get out there and paint my picture, man. I'm ready to get out there and everything that I have going on up here to, put it on display and have my hand raised and bring that world title back home to Fort Worth, Texas.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, yeah, you talk about the thing there with DKO boxing and Lou DiBella. I'm gonna go into that there a little bit, but real quick shout out to DKO boxing. I kind of had a couple of commercials or those ads and stuff like that. There's they've been a good supporter of the boxing source there. So DKO boxing, greatness awaits. Yeah, I pretty much say that
Absolutely. The best
there.
management team out there.
Yep, yep. Now, one quote that you go by that is there on your Instagram profile page. It says, "Work hard, dream big, and never forget your roots." Like, where do you have that as far as like your inspirational quotes that you go by?
We said what was the question? Sorry.
Like, as far as like inspirational quotes, like where did that like basically come from?
Oh man, I've had that on there really since I started my Instagram, and it's just because those are like my three pillars. I guess I could switch that up a little bit, and before all that, I could put keep God first, work hard, dream big, and never forget your roots. I'm a big man of God, and praying about everything that's happening in my life and that I want to happen in my life. And I'm the hardest worker in the room every single time, no matter where you put me. I'm the hardest worker, and if you can ask anybody around me, anybody that sees me in the gym, they'll vouch for me. Um, Dream big. I come from Fort Worth, Texas. There's not a lot of people making noise in boxing here, and it's just a big dream that I've had, and I never gave up on it. I've had it since I was 7 years old, and never gave up on it. Maybe earlier than 7 years old. And never forget your roots. Like I keep telling you, I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. I keep bringing up Fort Worth, Texas. This is my roots, man. And no matter where boxing takes me, everything originates here, and I'm made from all the supporters here in Fort Worth. They keep me going and they keep me grounded, and you know I'm a big Fort Worth guy.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Like I said, it's not that far of a drive from Dallas, Texas. There, and I know you've had a number of fights there within Dallas there in your pro career. So you've had that great support up to this particular point. Now we're gonna have them have that trip over to Vegas so that they'll be cheering you on there when you're going
No
up
doubt.
against Rafael Espinoza. Real quick here, we got on the live chat. Shout out to Lionel Watson in the building. He says, "Do you think that you have to do anything different to get the nod in a close fight here against Rafael Espinoza?"
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I have to go out there and win in remarkable fashion. I can't go out there and just and just go toe to toe for 12 rounds. I got to set myself apart and show them that I'm different. Um, I've learned from my past experiences in my previous world title fight versus Joe Cordina, and then my other loss versus Raymond Ford. I've learned from those kind of experiences, and I've also learned from some of the other wins I've had. That I gotta win by either a larger margin, or I gotta get this guy out of there and really hurt him. So I got violence on my mind, and I'm ready to go in there and hurt this guy and take his soul, and that's for me, that's what it's all about. It's all I visualize, breaking them down, man.
For sure, for sure. You got another one here, man. We got to get an answer for this. Where can we get one of these shirts? You know what I'm saying? Where
Oh
can we get
man,
these shirts?
follow me on Instagram at Eddie Vasquez TX, EDDIEVAZQUEZTX. And every now and again I'll go on there and post some merch. But these shirts here were only made one time, and I think I sold like 100 of them, and that was it. I'm never gonna make them again. But I do. This graphic designer that I have, he makes some clean gear, and so I'll definitely have some more coming out here soon. something similar like this. So if you guys are interested, like I said, follow me, keep an eye out on that, and every now and again, like I said, I'll pop up and sell some merch. But I'm not like a salesperson or anything like that, so I don't really have like a merch line or anything like that. I mean, I probably should, but more
Mhm.
just focus on boxing.
Word
But
for sure.
appreciate
For sure.
appreciate the support though. That's what's up.
Yep. Now, got this. Let me see if I can pull this up here for the next question. You said you have a additional motivation here coming up for this fight next week. You had like this recent post there that was on Instagram
Yeah, man.
an hour ago. There you have your daughter there. That recently turned 5,
Yeah,
and she was able to be out there for support and things like that. And you've been having this going back and forth. Being at home, being in camp. Like
yeah.
how was your family there? Been a key part of your career up to this particular point?
Oh man, it's huge. It's huge. I took a little bit of time. I did a camp and like a camp and a half in Vegas last year, the past 2 years, and man, I gotta say, being away from my family, you are really able to grow and focus on boxing. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I feel like, at least I don't know. Maybe it's just being a dad or something. I don't know, but
Mhm.
comes to a certain aspect where like just just seeing your family, being with your family, even though you're going all day at the gym and training on the road, whatever it is, you be able to come home and crash out with my lady and see my daughter before bed, have dinner with them. It's just something like it just keeps your mind right. And I feel like that piece right there is something that a lot of fighters, I don't know. I'm just speaking, but on my behalf at least, I feel like that's a huge important part is having that mental stability, right? I mean, I,
Mhm.
I get I get the part where people say like being away you're able to focus and it makes you hungry, and I get it, but I've done that part, and me being away from my family, from my daughter, makes me feel a little bit disconnected, like a little bit uneasy,
Mhm.
and so I'm just glad that I was able to have this camp here at home, and kind of like you mentioned, I'm gone all the time for training. I get up in the morning, I do my morning training, I do my running, and then I do my evening training, and then I do my strength and conditioning. And it's pretty much I'm gone all day. I don't see my daughter. I see her before she goes to school, and then I see her whenever it's time for bed when I get home from the gym. So it's like it's an all day thing, but I'm just glad that I'm able to come back home, touch base, and see my family again before bed, and it just makes all that much of a more difference, man. It puts me in
Yeah.
a good headspace, and I don't know. Like I said, it might just be like me being a dad. Like I need to be connected to my source, to my daughter, and to my lady, and I couldn't be more thankful for this opportunity, man. Going to fight for the world title in Las Vegas on Cinco de Mayo weekend on ESPN, and I get to be with my family every single day, and I'm in tip-top shape, and I'm in good headspace. I'm blessed, man. I'm very blessed to be in this position right now.
Yeah, like you said, being a father, that it makes it completely different than like being in camp, whether it could be in Vegas or another city, and you could be done with camp and everything like that, but like you said, it may be like something missing there because it's one thing to be in camp in another city, and yeah, you could contact your family, you could FaceTime your daughter, your girl, and everything like that, but it's completely different when you're there in the city and you're able to see them right there in the morning before you head off the camp, and then like you said, right right before you close it out there for the evening, that you're able to see them every day,
Um,
so it makes a big difference.
That no doubt, man. It's made the world of difference, and it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain because like yeah, like when I was in Vegas, I had a tremendous camp, and I enjoyed it, and I learned a lot. I was like, it felt like I was in boxing college. But at the same time, man, I don't know like I said, I don't know how to explain it. It's tough to explain. It's a mental thing. It's kind of like being disconnected from my source, and
Mhm.
it just feels uneasy. But like I said, I'm grateful for where I'm at right now, and I feel good. I'm in a good headspace and ready to roll.
Yeah, it's like being at peace there. When you have your whole family there with you. While
Yeah,
you're there in
yeah,
camp. You know? So that's pretty much what it is. And I was saying here, with this being a co-feature about Cinco de Mayo weekend, Sunday, May 4th, there at T-Mobile Arena. Like, how excited are you to be part of that card on Cinco de Mayo weekend? ESPN Top Rank Boxing there,
Um,
coming up here the following Sunday.
man, I'm very excited. I'm very excited. I'm more than ready than anything, and I'm very thankful. I'm thankful to Top Rank, thankful to my management, thankful to my promoter Lou DeBella. I'm very thankful for the opportunity. And but I'm excited, but at the same time, I gotta stay locked in, man. Because I know that the opportunity and all that is cool, but literally none of it matters if you don't go get the win. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to stay focused right now, man, and not not let the bright lights and all that shit get to me. I'm trying to stay locked in and kind of like tunnel vision, and once I get my hand raised and that belt around my waist, then I'll be able to then I'll be able to kind of reflect. But for right now, I gotta stay locked in and on Rafael Espinoza and just choose violence for now. But like I said, I'm thankful for the opportunity.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And you mentioned other thing there in reference to your team as far as like DKO boxing and Lou Bella. Like, talk about that combination, that team right there, and how they've been able to guide your career up to this particular point.
Oh man, I mean, it speaks for itself. Me and DKO boxing. I think we're going on like 4, maybe 5 years together. Two world title shots, and I'm not even sure how many fights together. Maybe 10 or something like that. Maybe
Mm,
more. Um, but yeah, I mean, it speaks for itself, man. These guys, they're always working behind the scenes and making great connections and keeping me in a good headspace and letting me know that we're progressing and we're moving forward. Not just me as a fighter progressing and moving forward because they do help me with that also, but
mhm,
in terms of business, they keep shaking the right hands and getting to the right tables, and I know that all this work that I'm doing in the gym is going to lead to bigger things because they're doing what they need to do behind the scenes. And I think that's like a part that a lot of fighters don't understand, especially young fighters. They don't understand that if you don't have the right team behind you, it doesn't matter how good you are or how hard you're training. If you don't have the right guys to represent you or to negotiate behind you, you may never get these opportunities,
Oh
and
yeah, oh
I'm
yeah.
I'm living proof, man. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas, where we don't get a lot of opportunities like this, and I'm going on my second world title shot in 2 years. And it's like I said, it speaks for itself, man. And I'm very thankful for them.
Yeah, shout out to Lou Bella and brother David there, DKO boxing. For being part of the team there. That's be able to guide your career.
Yeah,
Got this thing here, man. He says trying to get to Vegas for this, man. Yeah, you got to get out there. T-Mobile Arena. Like I
man,
said,
up,
there Sunday, May 4th. You feel me?
pull
Yep,
up.
yep. Now, okay. Tell us the difference between Edward, Eddie, and the kid.
The difference between Eddie and the kid.
Well, it could be Edward, Eddie,
Oh,
and the kid. If
oh
it's like
man.
three or two.
Well, I
Yeah.
guess Eddie is Edward. The kid is what That's fight week right there, man. Once fight week starts, if you know me on a personal level, that's a time where you really don't want to, even come around me or fuck with me. That's just, I'm locked in, and
Hmm.
you know, nothing else is going on in the world matters. The only thing that matters is violence and you know, taking off Rafael Espinoza's head or whoever my opponent is that week. That's the kid right there, and it usually happens. I always say, like, once the weight cut starts, so like weight cut week, fight
Hmm.
week starts, that's when I become the kid. And
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I was just about to say
yeah,
that. Hey, come
you know,
next Wednesday, next Thursday. Yeah, that's when y'all go see the kid.
yeah, it's time to lock in and go to a different headspace. And that's also something that a lot of young fighters don't understand yet is that you got to be able to click over, you know what I'm saying? And that's something that I'm still working on. All these years into my career, I'm still working on, and I feel like I'm finally getting it down where you're able to click over and flip that switch and kind of put on that alter ego and really clock in. You know what I mean? You can't be civilized, man. You got to be an animal. You got to go in there and like I always say, you got to pick violence and go in there and be mean, man. Be a mean motherfucker.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. That's what we're looking forward to coming up on Sunday, May 4th, there in Las Vegas, and things like that. So definitely looking forward to that. Now, you work with a number of coaches, while in the sport of boxing, which include Ray Barrera and Ismail Salas. Now, heard that you are back with Tony Cabello and Vincent Reyes, who have been, work with you there when you pretty much like started off your boxing career. Like, how has that reunion been like here so far?
Man, you know what? Sorry, what was it? What was the last part? I didn't really hear the last part.
Like getting back there with Tony and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. Getting back with Tony Vince has been huge, man. They started me out when I was 7, 8 years old, and they know me as a fighter almost better than I know myself. I spent many years. I for the first 14 years of my boxing career, I trained with them, and then once I turned professional, I kind of started bouncing around, and now to be back with them, I got back with them for the Kenneth Taylor fight, so this will be our second fight back together, and like I said, they know me better as a fighter than I know myself. They remind me that I do certain things, that I know how to do certain things very well, and things that I totally forgot about, and it's because these guys, they saw me starting, and they taught me things. They taught me pretty much everything I know about boxing, so they know I know how to execute certain things that I totally forgot about. So and it just things just click. We kind of speak the same language. When someone teaches you something, and that's kind of like the language in your head. We speak the same language, and it feels good to be back with them. Like I said, we speak the same language, and everything is clicking.
Yeah, it just registers quickly, and you're able to see that, or it's able to be interpreted while you're there in the ring, as far as like your
Yeah,
your
man.
overall preparation. Like you said
Yeah.
in your last bout against Kenneth Taylor, and now here coming up here against Rafael Espinoza. And
And I
yeah,
tell
Ramirez Boston here says, yeah, cutting the weight does bring out the kid.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt, man. It's not a fun place to be, but luckily for this fight right now, we had, like I said, a little bit over 10 weeks, so everything's coming off smooth, and I feel real good right now. So hopefully, I won't have to become an asshole. You know what I mean? Sometimes whenever you get into those deep cuts, it's you become an asshole. But right now, I feel good, man. I'm literally like 7 pounds away, so 7 pounds, 10 days, 9 days, whatever. I feel great, and if I needed to make weight on Monday, I feel like I could do it in a healthy manner. But we have longer, so I might not have to become the asshole kid. I can just probably just become, you know, click over and get that killer instinct going, and still be able to knock out some interviews and talk to people and shit like that without having to.
Word.
A lot of times I'm like, I'm
Yeah,
done with you. I don't want to talk to
you know what I
nobody.
mean.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe this time I'll still be able to do all that and enjoy the media and the public workouts and all that. That's the plan. God willing.
Yeah, exactly. It's a completely different thing when you're able to get within the schedule to make weight and things like that, because it's not just about making weight there, but to me it's also about being able to rehydrate at a good pace there before the fight, so that you're comfortable and everything like that, so you ain't like using a lot of energy there pretty much like early in the fight, because you had a whole lot of stuff that had to happen in between the time that you had to weigh in at the limit and then getting there before the fight takes place.
Exactly, man. And so like I said, everything's good right now, and God willing, everything can continue to go good, and then this weight cut will be easy.
Word, for sure, for sure. So we got a couple more here. So wanted to get back, of course, there with the fight. Now, what have you seen there from Rafael Espinoza in his fights against Robeisy Ramirez or Sergio Sereno, if anything?
Well, he's a dog. He's a dog, and he likes to come forward and fight. And if he hurts you, he's gonna walk you down and get you out of there. Um, Also, I see that if he's not able to touch you, he does get a little frustrated. Or if he gets hit, he gets a little frustrated. He might have a little bit of ego there. So once he starts to miss and starts to get touched up, it might bring a different side out of him. Just maybe a little bit of frustration. And but yeah, like I said, he's a world champion for a reason. He's smart. Um, he's a dog. He's damn sure not as good as me, and that's just that.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, here that this is like one here that I pretty much was going to close with, right? Now, I know they have a top rank. Looks like they have like a new announcer or something like that there, but it's a well-known announcer there, of course. Hall of Famer Jimmy Lennon Jr. So, my question here is: after Jimmy Lennon Jr. says the winner and the new WBO featherweight champion of the world, Edward Kid Vasquez.
Uh,
What's next?
Man, first give thanks to God for the opportunity and for the win, and then whoever's up to bat next. Whoever wants to unify, or if Inoue wants to make his way up to 126, I'll welcome him there. I can't look that far right now. I got to stay focused, and I'm locked in on Espinoza. But I'm game. You know me, man. I fight anybody, and I don't never say no to anybody. So I'm locked in on Espinoza. I'm not looking past Espinoza at all. But whoever wants to run it, let's run it, and that's what's next.
Gotcha, gotcha. Like you said, you're definitely focused here, locked in on this upcoming fight against Rafael Espinoza for that WBO featherweight championship. Of course, this is a co-feature bout that's coming up on Sunday, May 4th at the T-Mobile Arena. Yes, you're gonna have there Nairo Inoue there versus Ramon Cardenas. But we're focused on this particular bout here, Edward Vasquez taking on Rafael Espinoza for the WBO featherweight championship. And like you said, you're pretty much like good, cool, calm, and collected. And I think it's big that you had your 10-week camp there in your hometown, or in your hometown, so that you had that level of comfortability there before you head out to Las Vegas for this fight. So definitely big thanks here for talking with us here once again at the Boxing Source. And looking forward to seeing you out there Sunday, May 4th at T-Mobile Arena there live on ESPN.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Shout out to the Boxing Source. I appreciate you guys for always showing support, man. I appreciate you, brother.
All right, no doubt. As always, man, as always. So looking forward to it. And folks, thanks for listening live. If you haven't done so already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the share button. We want people to know about Edward Vazquez there. Like, he's going to go in there Sunday, May 4th. He's going to handle business. He's going to go out to that WBO featherweight championship, and he's going to get that thing there over Rafael Espinoza. So y'all be sure to tune in there Sunday, May 4th on ESPN. Edward the Kid Vasquez there for that WBO featherweight championship. So with that being said, folks, thanks everyone for listening in, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace out.
Peace. Thank you.